And also, hold on. Before this video starts, I think that, again, I don't know. I think Ran probably wasn't being, if he was just joking, chat, if it was just like, haha, pee pee poo poo. But like, people have said it before. If it's going to be a hobby, like, you do need to put some effort into learning it, chat. Like, I do understand that Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be a complicated game, but you do actually have to put some time and effort into learning it. And honestly, I think if you play Master Duel, I think it becomes, it's incredibly intuitive. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say, I'm going to play League of Legends, and if I'm not an expert by the end of 3 games, this game's too complicated. Like, no, the first time I played League, I had the screen lock on. I wasn't building, but like, I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? I went through the tutorial and I was like, I still don't know what I'm doing. So, all right, let's go. Let's get the volume up.
Well, well, well. Another Yu-Gi-Oh! Hater at it again. A big-ass 10 million sub account shitting on the game that I've irrevocably tied my finances to. Well, you all know how we do here. Sleeve up your Chaos Gustav Sea Rider Dragons. It's time to act man again.
Honestly, the only part I really enjoyed was getting my Blue Eyes White Dragon. Because at least he looks cool.
Uh-oh. So if you're watching this, you've probably already watched this video. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! To prove it's ridiculous, and first off, look at that thumb. I'm a fucking amateur, man. Man's got similar subs to me. He's getting custom thumbs. I'm out here pulling thumbs out of my asshole. Wait. Anyway, if you're unfamiliar with Raran, he's a Hearthstone guy, which is frightening. See, this isn't some, like, general gaming YouTuber. This is a person who plays card games for a living, and like us, he plays a card game that peaked a long time ago, while just sort of fanning the embers on the game we play until we can pay off our mortgage. Raran recently played about 5 hours of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just to see what it was like, and it did not go well. After getting his ass kicked for about the length of one Barbieheimer, he called it, but not before calling out the game we all know and love. His arguments were basically this. Disclosure! I'm kind of distilling his arguments here for the purposes of pacing. I know they're nuanced. We're trying to get out of here tonight, all right? 1. Yu-Gi-Oh's got the worst new player experience of all time. 2. Yu-Gi-Oh's insanely complicated in a way that turns off potential new players. And 3. The core gameplay loop of Yu-Gi-Oh often isn't fun. And, oh, this is a far cry from 4 kids censored too many.
Oh, stop, Vintage. We get it.
Makes life happy.
Fun fact, MBT Oops.
Hold on. Sorry. Thank you, Vintage, but not during this. Thank you, MB. Thank you, Vintage. But yeah, we'll listen to that once the video's over. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, let's do our best to kind of go through them. He's completely right. Through Rayren's example, let's look at what the new player experience for Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually looks like. The first thing you do is download Master Duel and jump right in. So far, so good. The second is you do the tutorials, and immediately we have a problem. Old Rari is right on point when he explains the gameplay he experiences as a result of the tutorial is not analogous to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that has been played this decade. Sure, at some point you have to be taught the basics, things like what a normal summon is, how you can set individual monster cards, how you go to the battle phase and individual monsters compare their attack stats with each other. That's all part of the core gameplay loop, for sure. But nothing in the tutorial imparts to you that you are going to be playing at Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 speeds. That the true goal of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is to combo your opponent into the wall so hard that they do not get a chance to play the game. And in doing so, you might take upwards of a 15-minute turn. Instead, it sells you on this premise of like, oh, Gemini Elf has more attack points than La Jin, so be careful if you put La Jin in your deck. At best...
Okay, hold on. I just have to stop. If MBT's making that argument of like, that's the most optimal way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And it sure does sound unfun, then shouldn't shouldn't these decks that play like that, chat, be inherently bad or be seen as like inherently problematic for the game? Why does everyone like cheer them on then? Why does everyone say that in one breath and then immediately say like Tier Element was the most deck ever hit? It's like, okay, but what? You know what I mean? Like, I look at a deck like Vanquish Soul and I'm just like, look at what Vanquish Soul does, chat. Everything fair. Normal Summon Rising. Search. Special a card. Search. Pass turn. No negations. No 15-minute turn. Literally 3 actions. And I start doing some disruption during your turn. Nothing overbearing or anything. But then in the same breath, we like cheer on these decks that do the same thing he's talking about. Vanquish Soul doesn't do anything to like make your opponent not play. Literally everything is interaction. You have to summon to specific zones, have specific cards in your hand, then you can do one specific action to remove one card. So I feel like if we have this energy of like playing against Adamancipator 5 negates is like unfun and unhealthy, then like cool, just have that energy for all the decks that do that. Cash is fair and balanced. People are hypocrites and they don't know what. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying if you have that energy, cool. Then keep that energy for like every 15-minute combo deck that plays that same style, and that includes Tier. Don't act like just because it didn't have. I mean, Tier did end on a bunch of like negations. Rude Kalos is a negation. Crime is an omni negate. It's like, what are we talking about? Anyway, I feel like they have this outrage when it's convenient. That's all I'm saying. Have you seen Turbo? Oh no. Let's focus on this first. Then we'll talk.
It's going to lead to a lot of disappointed players who either feel they got their time stolen by a tutorial that ended up not really mattering, or they're going to be disappointed because they wanted to play that style of game and it just doesn't exist anymore. Or alternatively, players are just going to thumb back in the tutorial like it's the Atla manuscript. Like, where's the rest of it? What's a link summon? You know, they know what a link summon is. What's a U-link? You know. Frustrated at this, Mr. Rand jumps into casual mode. Casual mode, where you'd expect the casuals are. Instead, he basically gets his ass beat the entire time. A bunch of individuals tell him that maybe he should consider playing the single-player modes, which is like a decent idea, but it's also a bit of a mixed bag, right? There's like a 99% chance playing the single-player mode means you're just learning the basic setup for a deck that you're never going to see again, and ideally you'd like to play the game against another human sometime in the first dozen hours of opening a new product. Finally, the chatters throw in the towel and start recommending that he get another YouTuber to show him the ropes, or maybe someone who's played the game before to walk him through what he needs to be doing. Ran Ranch describes this as coaching, which is an interesting way of looking at it. I'd always just assumed that having a guide on your Yu-Gi-Oh! Journey was the only way you could get into the game. But from a layman's perspective, it really is coaching to a degree. Why should you have to contact a third party to play a video game online? You don't need to pause Deltarune to figure out how to attack. They tell you in the game. So what does he end up doing? He plays Dragon Maid, and functionally just clicks buttons for 20 or 30 minutes. Later, he graduates to Salamangreat by purchasing one of the precon decks, and later still, someone sends him a competitive Salamangreat list, which he crafts. Which brings us to Yu-Gi-Oh's insanely complicated in a way that turns off.
Well, I'm gonna say this. If you can play Yu-Gi-Oh! Chat for like 5 hours and you can grasp Salamangreat, don't you feel like you have a pretty decent idea of the game, like a pretty good understanding of the game? Because I think that's kind of impressive, chat. I'm just comparing it to like me being 15, just starting to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Could I have grasped a high level strategy deck in 5 hours? Like, probably not. You know what I mean? He was just clicking, but okay, so he didn't even know what he was. So then, like, okay, but then at that point, are you actually trying to learn, or are you just playing? Because to me, chat, I equate that. You guys know the person who plays. This is politically incorrect, but back in my day, you used to say like a girl playing a fighting game. You just press button, you just press anything, and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Or the one kid who just all I can do is to throw a fireball. You know what I mean? Like, if you're just doing that, then, like, you're not learning anything. Like, I don't really get the point. Yeah, I don't think, and by the way, I understand you're playing, but then if you're not trying to learn, then I don't think you can have, like, actual criticism of it, right? You know what I mean? Again, think of the person who just plays the fighting game and just press the buttons. You know what I mean? Jib says, I could. And whatever you say. Unless you're a veteran, it's easier, bruh. All you do is play set 5. I mean, I played Vanquish so like 3 times today. There's literally 1 trap in the deck, so that sounds incredibly stupid and ignorant. But yeah, Pegasus, this is literally the deck that I play right now. It has 1 trap in the entire deck. So sit down and shut the fuck up. Thank you.
New players. Why are we lying about this? A significant amount of the arguments in that Actman video that I peed my pants about were functionally just that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is too hard. There are some things that I think are quite simple about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Wait,
That
he evolved?
for some reason...
I'm just saying, you shouldn't just try to make stupid assumptions off someone. This is literally the deck that I play right now. There's 1 trap in the deck, which I could actually take out for Mourner, and there'd be no traps in the deck. So set 5, like, kind of sounds fucking stupid. But yeah, there you go.
Old players can't get the grasp on.
I mean, that's fine. It's just, if you say something stupid, I can respond to it. So you're wrong, and there you go.
Z's summoning and the like, I feel is very intuitive. But importantly, in that video, I did agree with and continue to agree with the concept that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a really, really complicated game. I think we can all be realistic about it. I don't think we need to pretend that it's easy to learn. I took the piss out of that video we watched on stream in which someone says it's no more difficult to learn Yu-Gi-Oh! Than it is to learn Magic or Pokemon. And I think Hidden Valley Ranch's video is a pretty good example of the fact that that is completely wrong. It's just super wrong. Magic the Gathering has a multitude of different mechanisms by which you can learn the game.
Like
Arena
what?
has a comprehensive tutorial. A significant amount of the formats are low investment and low power. Drafting gets you integrated into the game with literally no collection. Standard is one of the most popular ways to play the game and is not complex by design. And that's to say nothing about the introductory track to a game like Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra, which will just get you an understanding of the game in under 2 hours. Now, at the highest echelons of games like Magic the Gathering, there is a lot of complexity to be had. For instance, in Modern, there's a quadrillion different keywords that you're not going to remember on first glance. But unlike Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh's complexity is functionally just the same thing over and over, and it's insanely long cards that you have to intuit what they are going to do from a baseline knowledge of nothing. There's a part in the video that
Okay, here is a actual debate that should be happening, chat. Should Yu-Gi-Oh! Streamline card text and take effects and simply just plaster them, like annotate them on cards? For instance, trample. You got, well, do we still call it trample? What is like the actual piercing? Yeah, I'm sorry. It used to be trample way back in the day. And now we just call it piercing, right? It means when you attack over a monster and you do damage even though the monster is in defense position. Should we just have like bullet points on card? This is what Cali Effect said, chat. That's what Cali Effect. Yeah, keyword essentially. Trample is a I never knew that. Oh my god. Chat, real talk. I never knew trample was a magic term. I just know like in 2000 when Spear Dragon came out, people were like, yo, it has trample. Yeah, I actually never knew that the term trample was from Magic. I just remember that term being a thing when LOD came out and it had Spear Dragon in it. That's how OP I am. Yeah, mill. Mill would be another one. Like we know what mill means. Can we say Rhoda, chat? Can we say Rhoda? Because Rhoda implied, well, I guess they'd have to find a term for it. But Rhoda implies specifically searching monsters. Well, I guess you could say Stratos. Yeah, I would say like Stratos. You know what I mean? Because like, would that make Yu-Gi-Oh! Text easier? Yes or no? Because this is why when people were like, Cap, you read the card. How come you didn't know what it would do? Because it's fucking like, bro, cards have a billion text on them. You know what I mean? Like, when I played against Salomon, I have to read these cards like 8 times to understand what the fuck you're doing. So like, that is true. It would be really nice if a card did just say Foolish, chat. Think about how many Salamandra great cards like go to the dump to the graveyard. Like, it'd be real nice if they did say Foolish. Garnet. Well, that's not really an effect. That's just a normal monster. You know what I mean? Reading is hard. Well, it's not so much reading. It would be more intuitive. It'd be more intuitive if you just saw Foolish on a card as a bullet point. And it's like, oh, I instantly know what this card's going to do and how it's going to work. What's up, Dark Emperor? Apparently, Stevie said that Konami R&D did an interview alongside Takahashi where they didn't want to have keywords because it would look like Magic. I wouldn't dispute that. That definitely sounds like a thing they could have done a long, like not recently, not like in the last 5 years or so. But yeah, like that does sound like a thing that they could have cooked up in like 2003, 2002, where they're like, hey, we don't want to have this just be like this other competitor. We want to make ourselves different, because that's when you're originally branding a game, chat. You don't want to look like a clone of another game. You know what I mean? Otherwise, people are just like, well, I'll just play this other game. So, exactly. Reading isn't the same as comprehending. And what I'm saying is, these bullet points would probably make you comprehend easier. Let's go.
I think is pretty illustrative. RarXD plays against a Rika deck and hasn't opened any hand traps. I think he might not have been playing any hand traps. He might not know what a hand trap is. It's like his first day playing Yu-Gi-Oh! His opponent normal summons a Rika Petal, and he is frantically scrolling through the text on that card while trying to figure out what it means.
Okay. I can look, I'm just gonna be honest. This actually is a way, chat, to have a horrible experience. No, it's not even reading. It's just like, if you play against Big Combo, you're just learning how to play the game. You don't even have like hand traps in your deck. It doesn't even matter if you have hand traps, because you won't know when to use them anyways. But if you played against, like, if his first duel was against Vanquish Soul, he'd have been like, yo, this is cool. You just normal summoned Ryzen, made this blue card, summoned this other card, set one and pass. But when you play against Big Combo, no one has time to read 14 different Rika cards, and they all have like this much text on them. Like that, because I assume that's what he's doing. I'm going to read Rika Petal, then I'm going to read Sunseed Link Monster, then I'm going to read Sunseed Sowing, then I'm going to read this other Sunseed Heal. Like, it's too much, bro. Like, no one wants to do all that, and it makes you just want to like quit the game. So
they're about to add a Rika card from their deck to their hand. They get Con, and imagine your first ranked experience being trying to navigate what it means to tribute an opponent's monster to pay the cost of an effect.
See. This is the VP part. I'm not gonna play I'm gonna go get milk or something. Like, this is why I think it's like, are you earnestly trying to like learn Yu-Gi-Oh, or like have, because to me, this doesn't further your point. Like, I understand what's happening to him, and it's frustrating, but it doesn't look like you had a genuine effort to like play and enjoy the game. It looked like, oh, my opponent's doing something, I don't know what they're doing, I'm going to the bathroom. Like, that's just what it looked like, basically. You know what I mean? It's the Shatner. I get to go first in combo, or the game sucks. You know what I mean? So I would feel like clips like this defeat his purpose, at least to me. It doesn't look like you have a genuine effort to like learn and enjoy the game. Yes, this is going to happen to you sometimes, but then people in your chat will explain, okay, this is why you need to run Droll and Lockbird. This is why you might want to play Max C, like the most potent card the game's ever created. You know what I mean? I could just ignore my stream for 3 hours. What are you talking about? I'm reading the chat right now. I'm just saying, even in like your context, I kind of get it, but like he's specifically playing the game to like show how silly it is, but like if you're not gonna take it seriously, then what's the point?
This is amazing.
That's what I'm saying.
I feel incredible.
His chat was not helpful.
Yes,
I can't really debate that.
Yes, I can win.
Because I
feel great.
I wasn't there.
I can do this.
Oh wow, thank you.
How would you feel if cards were divided with one space that told how the card affected the card player, and the other how the card affects the opponent? So as a player you could always look at the section that affects you, if you wanted skim long card.
Let me see. Okay, hold on. Thank you, Acer Maximum. Thank you for that donation. How would you feel about if cards were divided with one space that told you, or that told how the card would affect the player, and the other how the card affects the opponent? So as a player, you could always look at the section that affects you if you wanted to skim a long card. I think that would, I think that would be helpful, chat. Especially if it was just like simple color coded, blue effects affect the opponent, you know, red effects affect me, black or white, and red and blue probably just works better. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Like that would, you could look at a card like again, Vanquish Soul. Like, you know, their search effects affect me. Their other effect, well, technically some of the other effects like Valius can affect both players, so I guess they need a third color too, because yeah, there are some effects that affect both players, but it would simplify things. What if we adopt the OCG card text? I just think, chat. I honestly just think. Hold on, let me see what you're talking about. Let's see. I don't fully know what you're showing me, Dark Emperor, as far as like how to differentiate this between like TCG. But I do just think, chat, there needs to be simplified card text. And I understand that like PCST, problem PSCT, was supposed to do that, but I think they should simplify it even more. If they label first and third effects, oh, okay. Yeah. Using like number. That is a way of simple, because I'm looking at Ryzen, and for Ryzen, they use just bullet points. God, even this card is like a little complicated. TCG does it, but rarely. Dang Japanese grammar greater than English grammar. I think what's it called? OCG does bullet points for each effect. That would be more intuitive. Hold on. Okay, I'm trying to get an example of one. Yeah, chat, that just, even something like that where it's like, all right, a bullet point for every single, damn it, come on, give me one. A bullet point for like every single different effect. Am I missing them? I see it here. Oh, they're too, okay, I can't see it because it's too small. Okay, yeah, like right here, yeah, I see what you guys are talking about, like the 1, 2, I can't see it on the text, and my head's probably blocking it, but it's just too small for me to read it. Yeah, I think something like that would just be more intuitive, just to number them. But I do think card text is a problem, but still, I believe, chat, if you're gonna try to like Yu-Gi-Oh! So ridiculous and stupid, you can't, you have to like have an earnest attempt to play the game and enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like walking away because it's not Magic, because you don't have, to me, like you're already going in, I don't know, it's already like kind of illegitimate because you're going in bad faith.
Effect you are activating. Because he's open no interaction, his opponent proceeds to combo off for, no joke, 10 or 15 minutes, at which point functionally he just dies instantly. There's a difference between the complexity in something like assembling a doomsday pile in Legacy and the complexity that is, you are now going to have to speed read 900 words, and your comprehension better be out of this fucking world. Even in games with a lot of hit.
That is the truest thing, MBT. That's the truest thing Joseph ever fucking said in his life, chat. That is an issue with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, yeah, your comprehension better be like, that's the reason why reading the card doesn't work. Because you can read it, doesn't mean you're gonna understand it. Like, your comprehension of this game better be insane. Because like you need, yeah, you can read a card, but like that doesn't mean you understand how the hell I'm using it or how it works. Like, there you go. Like, yeah, your comprehension for Yu-Gi-Oh! That's generally why it, I don't know, is it like this for you guys? You need to play against a deck like 3-4 times to kind of get a feel of like what it's going to do. Like, I didn't understand. I had to play against purely like, I don't know, a dozen times before like, oh, I get it. I understand how your cards work now. That cat ranks up into that cat, and this cat does this. And like, yeah, I got to play against the deck like 12 times before I get a gist of like what it's doing. Even I played against Salamangreat last night, chat, and I beat it. But then when I played against Jib, I'm like, hold on, is that the one that searches, or is that the one that puts a monster on my field and then you draw a card? Like, I only kind of knew what the rank 4 did because I've watched Lithium. The rank 4 like pulls a trap from the deck, which is nice. But yeah.
Information like Magic the Gathering, they've built into the game a way you can intuit from a knowledge base of almost zero what your opponent might be up to. If they're on blue, you can expect there might be counter spells in the deck. If they're on black, there's probably some spot removal. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, encountering a card like Branded Fusion for the first time is going to take you about 90 seconds to read the card, and then 15 minutes to try and figure out what the hell your opponent is setting up. The end result, if you're a new player playing by yourself on a ladder system, is
true. Yo, that is 100% true, chat. If your opponent were just to activate Branded Fusion, you don't know what the fuck's coming. You're like, okay, hold on. So this one, you have to send Albaz, and you can send this dude, and then like this, and like, okay, hold on. So this guy that you summon discards a card, and he also like tags stuff back into the deck, and then you summon a completely different fusion monster from the first one that you summoned, and all this stuff goes back, and now you're activating different chain links. That shit's confusing, chat. I don't necessarily like what MBT's talking about though, chat. Would Yu-Gi-Oh be better if there was just like, well, every single fire deck in Yu-Gi-Oh does burn. Like that's how I feel like what's kind of happening with Magic. It's like, okay, well, every fire deck kind of has burn, and every water deck has healing. You know what I mean? Yeah, in Yu-Gi-Oh we have archetypes. You know what I mean? But that's kind of what it sounds like in Magic. I know Magic, they have what? Black, white, green, red, blue, and probably another color like fucking yellow or something. And it's like every card is just one of those 6 colors. And it's like, I don't want every single black card. I don't want every dark monster to gain attack. I don't want every single fire card to do burn damage. That's boring. You know what I mean? You want to play a fucking burn deck, play Trickstar. You know? Magic has 5. Red, blue, and green, I know, right? Is it red, blue, green, black, and white? Or black and yellow, maybe? The point is, if he's saying every black deck plays counter traps, this sounds a little like chokeholdy. I don't want to play a deck where like every black card has to play like counter traps, you know?
That you lose. You lose constantly. You lose to good decks, you lose to bad decks, you lose to everything in between, and in the meantime, you read about as many words as Homestuck. Be real. There's a period where, after reading the 9th flower card and your opponent has activated that turn, you just stop. Something in your brain clicks and you say, all right, I have no further interaction. Do what you must. I will trust you are not cheating. No card game.
Oh my god, this is so true. This is like the truest shit. That happens with every deck, chat. It's like at some point, you just give up. I don't have a hand trap. Just don't cheat. I literally did that the first time I played against Unchained, chat. If you watch the video that I sent the DB Grinder, the duel with me playing Dogmatic, that's what I did with Unchained. It's like, I'm just trusting you. He does like 3 illegal things. He like uses the Unchained, he searches like the Unchained spell, the one that searches, like it's not even an Unchained card. You can't, I'm just trusting you because I don't want to fucking read all these cards. You know what I mean? Every Yu-Gi-Oh player just does that at some point. You know what I mean? Yeah, ideally you'd hope it's on Dueling Book or Locals, but at some point when you don't know what the cards do, like if you play against Flower Guardians, it's just like, all right, I don't have Droll, I don't have Nib, just play. I'm just trusting you're not going to cheat me, okay?
Have a moment where one of the players decides they are done playing before they've had a turn. And certainly that moment should not happen every game. Which brings me to... So Rare and Ago doesn't actually ever say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't fun. But it's pretty clear that he thinks it. The entire time he's just checked all the way out, upset at how the game is playing out and what he has to do to even engage with it. People in chat start saying absolutely insane shit. Maybe you're not the right type of person for Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe you don't have the attention span necessary for it. The guy has been playing it for about 5 hours straight. He's devoted a pretty significant amount of time to the game. He's frustrated that even at this position, he can't engage with it at all. But even in a best-case scenario where the light of divination shines upon Raron, he might just not like the game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is incredibly zero-sum. He starts to figure this out over the course of the video, saying things like, I need to be going first so I can prevent my opponent from playing. A significant amount of playing this game is ensuring that one player at the table is having absolutely no fun whatsoever. It's a skill-based game for sure, but a significant amount of that skill is expressed in a way that prevents your opponent from ever accessing their reserves of understanding. And that's...
Can I ask a question, chat? And I'm asking this because I don't legitimately have the knowledge to answer this question myself. For those of you who play Pokemon or Magic or have knowledge of it, do players like the aspect of, since they are resource-based games, I know I will be able to do X, Y, and Z because my opponent can only do X, Y, and Z. Like, they can, it's like being in a race, but knowing the other car can only do 40 miles per hour. So they can't really blow me out that much, right? It'd be like if you're doing a 20 lap, like, you can't get but so far. You know what I mean? Is that kind of how playing Magic and Pokemon is? It's like, all right, it doesn't really matter if I don't have any hand traps. If they have them, like, you can only do so much. You know what I mean? Is that how it feels to play Pokemon and Magic, chat? Participation trophy. Well, I'm just wondering if that's how, like, people who play those games think, because I don't play those games. You know, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like, yeah, you don't have any hand traps. You play against big combo, you can get blown out and like go next immediately. That's also why we play 2 out of 3. It's easier to read Pokemon cards, but it doesn't mean you immediately know the best strategy. Their strategy is by reading them. But BP, what I'm saying is, and you play Pokemon, do you ever have like a situation where like you don't necessarily have a great hand, you're going second, but then you think, all right, well, I can't completely get blown out because he can only do so much. Like if my, you know, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, that's not a thing, you know, the way it is. It's more like, well, chess is an example of that. What can your opponent, like, I understand, chat, it's advantageous to go first in chess, but even if you go second, like, what's the worst that can happen? They move a pawn, you know what I mean? They move a knight, you know what I mean? There's no getting blown out in chess. That's all I'm saying. There are cards that cheat the resource system. Yes and no. But the World Championship of Pokemon was only 2 to 4 turns. Okay, that's like an answer. Okay, I'm understanding what you're saying. By the way, I heard an American won the Pokemon World Championship. USA. So that means technically the United States of America is best at Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Just putting it out there. Yeah, we won. That's what I'm saying. The U.S. we're technically better at Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And they were both created by the Japanese. Suck it. Just don't ever forget that, chat. Don't ever forget that. All these well, not all of them. These trading card games were made by weebs. Takahashi is not American. You know what I mean? They were made by Japanese.
Thinking that this game uniquely has a learning cliff that other card games have already figured out a way to manage. We refuse to do so, and the end result is a game that frequently just straight up looks like solitaire. I think that the paper card game has done a uniquely good job of beating back this type of criticism in recent years, stopping the design decisions that dominated the back half of the 10s and the early part of the COVID era. I think decks like Sprite and Tearlament and IKEA Lab and individual cards like Fenrir and Triple Tack and Thrust have done an amazing job at giving players options going both first and second and the potential to be playing pretty much that entire time. But unless a new player is lucky enough to have picked one of those 3 decks out of a hat, they're going to probably be playing a deck that's main game plan is to prevent your opponent from ever drawing a card that could conceivably threaten them. And that sucks. This type of video does worry me, and as Master Duel has become more and more popular, these videos have become more and more frequent. Big-name streamers are trying out Yu-Gi-Oh! Excited to play the game that they remember from their childhood, summoning the Blue Eyes White Dragon and the Dark Magician, only to be told that that kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Never really existed outside of the playground. That would be a compelling pitch if we could follow it up with, but there is a super cool balls-to-the-wall combo battlecruiser magic-style gameplay that's replaced it that's infinitely more fun. Instead, we frequently get to respond with, now there's this card in the game called Maxi that if you activate, you win immediately. Where's it come from? Oh, the hand. You can't interact with it. In short, we've got a problem. It's the same problem that they're...
I mean, don't they run Crossout and Ash and called by like literally every day? I mean, I understand the idea of like, well, why should every day? But I'm just saying, like, don't say you can't interact with it when like you specifically play these cards to interact with Maxi. That's all I'm saying. You can just ban. I know. But I'm just saying I don't feel like that was a factual statement of you can't like every game. I'm just saying that's it. Okay.
Identifying.
There we go. I don't like all the comparisons to Magic. If you think Magic is the greatest, dude, I just want to talk to like someone with Magic. It's like, is this game the utopian paradise that these YouTubers be saying it is? Like, really, is it? Is Magic the all Valhalla that like we all die and just we get reborn as Magic players, chat? Is it? You know what I mean? Or am I gonna play it and like this shit's boring? Like this is literally GOAT format. Not that GOAT format's boring, but you know what I mean? It is.
I mean, board meetings now, new players.
I want to talk to a minority that plays Magic. Okay.
Are just not coming in as much as we'd like. We've got far and away the sleekest client to play our game and a really generous monetization model, and people just aren't willing to hammer it out. As a community, We have to stop lying to ourselves about issues of complexity. The difficulty in parsing this game as a new player is something that people are increasingly unwilling to rankle with. There's a comment on Farfa's response to this video where someone says something along the lines of, "Oh, well, yes, Yu-Gi-Oh's difficult, but it sucks that he started with Dragon Maid and Salamangreat. Those are two of the most complicated decks in the game," which is just not remotely true. I wouldn't put either of them in the top 100. But if those decks, our baseline decks, are considered too complex, maybe something went wrong so long ago, we don't have a chance to change it anymore. Finally, I think this year has really just been our come to Hortaki moment, right? Master Duel was a blessing in that it exposed the game to more people than ever before, but it also shone a light directly on the fact that the player base is increasingly a group of people who play because they got in on the ground floor in 2002. And that's why I came away from this video.
Yo. Yo. I mean, jeez, I feel personally attacked. God damn. I will say that, like, a lot of these new age arguments, chat, I just can't identify with them. I'm being completely honest. When people are like, "It's too complicated, I will have to learn all of it," I'm just like, well, unfortunately, I mean, luckily for me, I learned when I was a baby. It's like, I saw this video yesterday, chat, of this like black man in his 30s trying to learn how to read and like how difficult and painful it was. Or I guess like being an adult and trying to learn a second language. And it's like, I just learned Spanish when I was a baby. So what do you want me to do? I just don't have the experience of that, you know? I tried to get into Magic, and there's no way to really do it unless you have someone holding your hand, aka what MBT said about Yu-Gi-Oh! So you can't just like, because again, it's hard for me to even talk about Magic, chat. The only thing I know is that they have like 6 or 5 attributes, and then they have a mana system. Like, I don't know if they've added new mechanics and shit to the game or anything like that. I don't know anything about Magic. So it's really hard for me to speak to it and say like, is it because the newer mechanics are more difficult? Is it because they've added too many cards? Is it because they ban cards? Or because they have set rotation? Like, why is that? We've got to learn one mechanic at a time. We didn't have to learn them all at... Well, yeah, that's also true, BP. Is like, chat, even mechanics that I didn't like, they added into the game, I had 3 years to learn them. Like, you know, me going from DM to GX, there was literally nothing to learn. Other than a couple of things like Gemini's that like no one played for the most part. Synchro, it's like, okay, cool. I didn't play a Synchro deck until Black Wings until like the second year. You know what I mean? So like, all right, I can learn this, little baby steps here and there. But when you come into the game and you have to learn all the mechanics at once and then other stupid shit like missing the timing, it's like, yeah, that's kind of an issue. Okay, let's finish this out.
Oh, just a little bit disappointed. It sucks to see someone who loves card games as much as Rastafarian turned off from what is, in my opinion, the best one, because the new player experience is dismal and the cards are way too complex for any mortal person to comprehend at first glance. These types of people should be our bread and butter. Individuals who are really integrated into thinking about card games, using their systems, and excited to try new ones. But instead, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. We can't seem to grab the Yugi boomers because their concerns range from incomprehensible to why the Blue Eyes White Dragon no win, and we can't grab potential new competitive players because the game sucks for about a year. Man, feels weird to just come out swinging against Actman and then functionally agree with this YouTuber for 20 minutes. Let me see if I can find one of his opinions that I can disagree with. About 3/4 of the way through the video, he says something while his opponent is in minute 9 of comboing off to the degree of, this is why every other card game has a resource system. I can work with that. Okay, first, what he means here is exactly mana. There are resources in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're just not mana. They're things like cards in hand. They're hard ones per turns. There's zones sometimes. But I think the assumption that all card games need effectively a mana system comes from the fact that all card games have a common ancestor in Magic the Gathering. I think there's very much a way that a game without mana could be very cool. The other one of the big three, Pokemon, lets you take 1 billion actions per turn. There's like energy, but there's 1 million cards that let you cheat the energy limit. So yeah, take that. Be more imaginative. We must envision a world in which there doesn't need to be a land. All right, that's all I got. I know a lot of people in the comments are going to be like, oh, you should team up with Rat Race and show him how to play the card game. But, like, doesn't that prove his point? The only way you can get into the game is if someone who's played it for 21 years teaches you how to link summon a Salamangreat. Ideally, we shouldn't have to fly Simo out every time someone wants to learn how to play the card game.
That's every game. See, that's again, my immediate thought is like, you have to kind of put in some like, I mean, I didn't even fully understand Yu-Gi-Oh! Just by reading the original, like, rule books, chat. I had to play with someone, and they had to tell me, like, oh, no, you can't, you know, this monster has to be, like, flip face up before you can use that effect of Man-Eater Bug. Like, oh, okay, so I can't just normal summon it. Like, okay, well, what about this, like, Summon Skull? I can just, no, dude, you have to have a tribute. And the tribute is, like, this monster, getting rid of him from the field. Then you can summon, like, this higher attack monster.